Hello, everyone. It's Sam Ridgway with another episode of Tales from the Crypto with our resident guru, Cameron Sykes. Cameron, how are you today?
I am surviving. I'm doing better than Do Kwon of Luna right now, but so is everyone else in the entire world. So hanging in there.
So today, crazy shit's happening with Luna, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Kind of give you an oversight of what happened, where they go from here, maybe why. I mean, a lot of stuff. Cameron's got all kinds of things he's going to tell you. So, Cameron, without further ado, why don't you just take it away? Luna, what up?
All righty, we'll start off with our disclaimer really quick, then we'll get into it. So, this is a show intended to entertain and educate our viewers. This is not investment advice. The show should never be used as the primary basis of investment decisions, nor should it be construed as a solicitation or advice designed to meet the particular needs of any specific investor. Please do your own research and come to your own conclusions. No information should be interpreted to state or imply that past results are an indication of future performance. Okay. Got that out of the way. Now time to talk about the elephant in the room, Luna. Fuck, crazy. And so I think to give it a little bit of context, we can take a note from probably one of the biggest cautionary tales of all time, and that's the tale of Icarus. And so Icarus was a boy who was able to fly because his dad constructed wings made of feathers glued to wax, which is, obviously makes him dad of the year. Yada, yada, yada. He flew too close to the sun, yada, yada, yada. Then he fell into the sea and drowned to earth, which is obviously very sketchy. As I said, it's been the most cautionary of all the cautionary tales for well over 2,000 years, with an ironic twist, because the new goat of goats for the all-time, most cautionary tale journey was actually cursed by an entirely different celestial body despite sharing the similar fate. So Do may be a deer, a female deer, but Do is also the name of the artist formerly known as the mastermind behind Terra. And unlike his predecessor Icarus, Do would fly too close to the moon before crashing down to Earth. And I guess the whole point of the Icarus is that it talks about the dangers of hubris, and the flight being a metaphor for man's overreaching of his limits. And so this is eerily similar to what's going on with Luna. And as you know, we've talked about Luna for a while. It was one of the hottest up and coming coins in the entire crypto space on all 2021. They had one of the most popular stable coins in the market, which was UST, and then Luna, which was one of our favorites for a while, was their governance token, which essentially is designed to keep UST's price pegged to $1. Since then, shit has really hit the fan. About a month ago, it was around $118 and is now at 0.000005. And so it is down as close to 100% as you could possibly get. And essentially what happened was maybe the most sophisticated, coordinated attack in the history of crypto. We talked about all the stuff about how crypto is going to go be adopted by all the major players across the world. And that's basically what's happening. But some of the unintended consequences of that is that, now Wall Street's in the game and they're really bringing out their dirty bag of tricks in an unregulated marketplace. And so what essentially happened, we don't know who's behind it, but all signs are pointing to Citadel, who's a hedge fund. And you probably know, if you're familiar with the GameStop crisis, they're the guys who conspired with Robinhood to suppress the price of GameStop. Gotten in a lot of trouble for that. And they also, they have Citadel Securities, which is basically the largest market maker in Wall Street. And they basically take all the 70% of all the orders that go through the New York Stock Exchange. And so they were able to essentially see all these orders before they were placed, and they were trading off of them. And Ken Griffin, the founder of that, actually got in some trouble. But they hustled. They really hustled Luna. I mean, they played the long game. So essentially what they did was they basically had $300 million just staked in Anchor Protocol. And Anchor Protocol is essentially a proxy for the health of UST, which is a proxy for the health of Luna. And so the way people get, you'd be able to get, 20% APY on UST is because of Anchor Protocol. And so they basically went in there and they just sold over $330 million worth of UST just straight in the market, making a depeg, and while also essentially having shorts placed on UST and Luna. And so they understood the mechanics of Luna's ecosystem well enough to know that, they do this Luna's going to counter with that, and they already had their counter to Luna's counter already set up. And so it basically set off a chain of events that was just insane. It got to the point where essentially Luna had to go basically sell off all their Bitcoin reserves and use those to go buy back UST to prop up the price. But guess who knew that was going to happen? It was Citadel, and they already had shorts placed on Bitcoin, and that helped basically fucking ignite a big run on Bitcoin, sent the markets going down, and it just completely collapsed Luna, and it's basically fucked. And now there's going to be more regulatory scrutiny than ever in this space, specifically in stable coins. And it's basically a fucking nightmare right now. And so it's unlike anything we've ever seen.
How do you prevent? Like, how do you prevent somebody from doing the same thing to another coin?
Exactly. I mean, I was talking, I was getting asked by CoinDesk and Forbes just yesterday about this. And ultimately, it shows that we're still figuring out this whole stable coin thing, because if you think this isn't going to happen again, you're absolutely insane. These guys made off with maybe $950 million in this deal. And so it'd be naive to think that there weren't maybe a billion other hedge fund guys out there just seeing what happened, wishing that they would have thought of it first. And they're going to go out there and just start fucking shit up, honestly. And they're going to go after basically all the stable coins and anyone they can, because, it worked before. There's a model, and they're going to fucking milk it the most they can. And so until, some of these stable coin issuers, the space figures out, a way to stop them, it's going to be a problem.
So do you recommend that people take their, and of course this isn't financial advice, we've already been over all that, but do you recommend people take their money out of stable coins then? Set them in US dollars, or set them in Bitcoin, or set them in something more stable right now, or just like stay out until this whole thing the dust settles?
I think the algorithmic stable coins, they're going to be, you're going to see more and more people coming after the algorithmic stable coins. I think the one that probably makes the most sense and is going to be the hardest to knock off its peg would probably be USDC. And so, if you're going to be, wanting to have some cash, but ultimately, be able to earn some yield on it, even as little as it is, probably go with USDC. But I think this put all stable coins on notice. They need to figure their shit out, because just a couple months ago, everyone was talking about Tether, and Tether isn't an algorithmic stable coin. They're collateralized, which means they're backed by, the assets they have in their portfolio. And so, but the issue with that is like, what kind of assets are they holding in their portfolio? And there's
USDT. We're talking about USDT.
Tether, which is the biggest stable coin. And so, there's rumors, back a couple months ago when there was all this fear over China's economy, crumbling because of this whole Evergrande thing. There was talks that Tether owned a bunch of bad Chinese paper, including Evergrande debt. And so it's not just algorithmic stable coins, it's basically all the stable coins. They need to figure something out, and ultimately it's probably going to have to be a combination of some type of algorithm and collateralized with assets, with a variety of different assets, in its reserves. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point in the future we saw, something with algorithms, holding real estate, and then also potentially, reserves of, NFTs or other digital assets, which have a lower correlation to the actual liquid token market right now. But this is crazy. I think this is going to go down as, one of the biggest events in the history of crypto. It's going to be written about in the textbooks. And I think ultimately it's going to be positive for the space. It's going to lead to a better mousetrap. But as of right now, it sucks. A lot of people lost their stuff. I mean, if you go on Reddit right now and the Luna's page, there's suicide hotline stuff in there. People are talking about, I want to kill myself, I'm going bankrupt, all this stuff. People lost so much money on this. So something really has to be done to prevent this from happening again, because quite frankly, they were a healthy company just a couple of weeks ago. And it's really scary that just one, bad actor can go in there and just completely take this thing down.
But is it gone like forever? Can it come back, or is it its demise it's a done deal? Nails in the coffin.
I mean, I guess it could come back, but I don't see anyone in their right mind right now who with confidence be like, no, I think I want to go, have my money in UST, or I want to go buy Luna, because the way the minting thing works, I think as of this morning, UST was down to around 15 cents. It's supposed to be at $1. So in order to get it back up to the peg, it needs to basically burn UST by minting more Luna. So the further it gets away from the peg, the more Luna that has to go be minted and brought onto the scene, and that reduces the value per unit of Luna in order to get that back up to the peg. And so right now, I mean, with as far way down as it is, I think Luna probably has a much further way down to go. So I probably wouldn't touch it. I don't know how you fix this, change public perception, but yeah, no, it's crazy. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're fucked.
Okay. So that's stable coins we're talking about here. How could this maybe move over into, some other coin like Ethereum, Cardano? I mean, another coin. Could there be the similar situation where somebody just dumps a crap load of it and then puts in a short, and then I don't know? Is it just with stable? I guess my question is this just something that happens to stable coins, or could this happen to any coin?
I think this specifically, Luna was extremely vulnerable to this. You couldn't go attack Ethereum in the same way. Essentially Luna you have to go stake your UST in Anchor. It offers the yield that uses that to basically help, prop up the price of UST in tandem with Luna. And so essentially what they're doing is ultimately discovered that much of this is essentially creating leverage on top of leverage and then re-leveraging that. And so you keep winding and winding up, and then you just let it unravel. It's basically all this money that made out of thin air, it just completely disappears. And so just based on the mechanics of that, I don't see how that would happen with someone like Ethereum. But, I think there's going to be more creative ways that some of these things are going to get attacked, because realize that with enough money and smart people who understand the inner workings and the mechanics of a lot of these tokens, there's a lot of opportunity to short these things and make a ton of money. And so it makes it even more important than it's ever been to really do your own research and understand the mechanics of how these things work and which ones may be more vulnerable to these types of attacks.
Okay. And so, I mean, we've gone over the whole Luna thing. I guess one last question before we end this one would be, as far as the crypto market goes right now, what are your recommendations for people out there that have some extra money? Is it stay out of it? Because this is going to create probably a little, some dissension in the ranks or whatever, in the crypto market. So things could fluctuate and it's not a good time to get in. Or do you think because the whole market took such a incredible hit, you think it's still worth putting money into it?
The market took
wait or what?
The market took a huge hit, but ultimately there's so many great projects out there that are just being at bargain prices right now. I know we say this all the time, but I think the route to take is, we can't predict the future, but you can go dollar cost average into some of these, put a little bit in here, a little bit there, and just, ride it out. I mean, you could go get, Avalanche for $36. Like over a month ago, that was around 140. You know what I mean? Bored Ape Yacht Club, how popular that was up until this crash. That's probably going to rebound even quicker. You know what I mean? Because you're getting that at an even bigger discount. So I think there's a lot of really great opportunities. So depending on your time horizon and your risk tolerance, I think it's probably best to go in there in a safe strategy and just dollar cost average a little bit here and a little bit there and just ride it out. Because ultimately we will recover. Crypto is not going anywhere. It's just a scary time right now. And, lots of bad news, but the smart people, rich people buy when everyone's selling and poor people sell when everyone's buying. So just be smart with it. Do your own research. Don't put too much money into it than you can afford. Dollar cost average, buy smart coins on discounts and just, wait it out.
So that'll wrap up this one. We're about 15 minutes now, but, it was just one stable coin. And as Cameron has said, I mean, there's a possibility that the same kind of situation could happen to a different one. I mean, providing someone I would assume has enough resources to move the market, like $300 million in a stable coin. But anyway, it kind of can't happen. So as always, you have to be careful out there. And any money that you invest could be gone tomorrow. I mean, this is a perfect example of that. So anyway, Cameron, thanks for your research. Thanks for clearing that up. Tell us what happened with the Luna thing, and what we need to possibly look out for in the future. And we'll have another one, not next week because I'll be in Mexico, but the week after that we'll hit it again. All right.
All right. Well, you have a great time in Mexico, Sammy.
Thanks a bunch. Bye bye.